So Freunde, in my last video, I told you how Cosmos is shifting its focus more towards institutions, enterprise, big corporations, governments as well, which is a trend that is inevitably happening in crypto. In fact, it is already in full swing, not only because the US is pushing legislation and basically overhauling their regulatory framework about crypto, but also because now the tech is more and more mature. And Cosmos, with its Appchain thesis, all around sovereignty, interoperability, scalability with Tendermint, with IBC, Live, and battle tested for many years in production, still, in my opinion, in my personal conviction, has a very, very strong shot to be a leader in that and to have a huge comeback. And that also counts for the Cosmos Hub and Atom, which is a chain that has been around for many, many years. It had many different development teams that were in charge or were trying to build something. Well, now the Interchain Foundation, led by the operational arm Interchain Labs, is stepping up to get Atom and Cosmos Hub integrated left and right on custody providers, on fintech platforms and banking apps, all these kind of things, and also running pilot projects with governments. But more on that is coming, I guess, in the next few weeks or months. Anyways, one announcement that we have seen now is that the Cosmos Hub is now integrated on Dfns, which I'm personally not very familiar with, to be very honest, but what this means, Dfns is basically a platform that gives developers and institutions, which is the main focus here, secure, scalable wallet infrastructure for one of the most advanced ecosystems, being Cosmos. And they also have more integrations with Ondo, DYDX, and also Osmosis that are on the way. But it is good to see Cosmos is getting more and more integrated. On the other hand, we're seeing also the Atom staking report from Everstake. Big shout out. In fact, if you have been watching this channel here regularly over the past couple of months, and you were always aware about the fluctuations. And sometimes I was a little bit concerned when we had mass outflows or mass undelegations happening. But in this Everstake report, it becomes clear that the trend has been up only. So for the first half of the year, we're actually seeing an increase of 15.7% in total stake with a bonded ratio or supply stake of around 60%. It was slightly above it. Now it's slightly below it again. But considering it was at 53% in December of last year, shows that there is more and more interest of staking Atom, not only because maybe with this new leadership and the fact that Atom has been around for so many years, is still on page one CoinGecko, is listed on all major exchanges, has a very, very healthy secondary market, very appealing to traders as well, which is also something a lot of people just ignore. But also because it has very decent yield, right, for just natively staking. So in the first half of 2025, 19.26 million Atoms were claimed in staking rewards. The APR went up by 1.4% in May. It's currently around 16.8%, and more than 1/5 of all stakers are actually also restakers. So restaking is on the rise, and that also brings me to a project that we've been in close contact with for the past few weeks, and they're actually also coming to Cosmoverse. They also were just announced as an AI track lead, but it is Polli, which is a product that is actually tailored to foundations to manage and automate their treasuries, but also it has an auto-compound feature that maximizes staking APR, considering that now YieldMoss was shut down. We do have Restake that is in contender out there, also more tailored to retail, but especially for foundations and their foundation delegation programs, because you're not only maximizing APR or APY by auto-compounding, but it also has an automated feature to redelegate in case validators get jailed, if they're not performing, if they don't participate in governance, which is also a very important thing. So they have their scores for that, and also slashing prevention, which is all automated. And I think it's a very cool product. In fact, teams like these that are probably not as popular or well-known across the Cosmos ecosystem, they have built great products, and there's many of them, right? I could also talk a lot about Sizzler, Omniflix, and the StreamSwap team, what they have built there. In my personal view, still right now, is the best way to launch a token in 2025. The most decentralized, the most fair, the most community-oriented, but it just doesn't have that visibility. But StreamSwap, I think as well, I really hope will gain substantial traction. Hopefully can land also some good launch partners. And I think that is also the main issue. Most of the times what I'm seeing, it comes down to BD. Most projects do not have a product, market timing, or anything external issue, but it's more so a BD issue. It's more so about strategically approaching, pitching projects for integrations, partnerships, and landing those type of deals. So it's mostly that. And considering that Cosmos is a very, very tech-oriented and focused ecosystem, I think that has oftentimes, at least in the past, been secondary or not really made optimum use of. Now, we also have Project Crypto announced by the SEC chair, Paul Atkins. And in fact, Mac also commented here that this is actually very interesting for Cosmos because the ICL is positioned to take part of this and benefit from Project Crypto. The ICL being US based, Mac, Barry, they're all based in New York. So are many other teams in Cosmos. But considering also Atom's history as a battle-tested asset, robust, as I mentioned earlier, listed on all exchanges, on Coinbase, Binance for many, many years, very, very healthy secondary market. The ICL holding less than, I think, 4% of the supply, which is unheard of in any crypto ecosystem. And also contributors like us with Cosmoverse that are basically community originated, that have the opportunity to take an important role of running the ecosystem conference. I think that is also unheard of in crypto, but that also contributes to the evaluation, because one of the main factors here is also how much control and power does one organization have. And if you look across the board, many organizations for many of these coins hold substantial power because they have the majority of the token supply, or at least are the largest token holders of their own token. They're running the main conference, they're running all the marketing stuff, they're running a lot of infrastructure as well on their own. And in Cosmos, you have this fragmentation, which is bad for execution and quick outcomes, but it is very, very good in the long term. And I think this eventually will play into our cards as hardcore cosmonauts. I like to say of myself also delusional cosmonaut, because I've been going through so many things and dark times and bad times in Cosmos, and there's been a lot of infighting drama, all these kind of things, which is all left behind now. Now we're looking forward, we're looking ahead. And I think a little bit of delusion is also mandatory in crypto to make it, because this industry is just so crazy and things can change and adjust so fast. But anyways, Cosmos is well positioned, the Cosmos Hub specifically. Now you're probably also noticing that the Cosmos brand is more and more getting reclaimed by the Cosmos Hub. So there was a very long time where the strategy was also, I guess, from the Interchain Foundation to kind of focus on the term Interchain. Now it seems, focus more on the term Cosmos. And we might also see some more rebrandings across the board there. But yeah, that is on the institutional, on the asset side for Atom. Looking at the product side of things, we're also seeing that interchain security is still there, right? Shared security, where the Cosmos Hub acts as a security provider to launch other chains. This product still exists. And with or without Interchain Labs wanting this or supporting this or endorsing this, it's permissionless open source software, right? So people can just use it and deploy what they want. And that is also a big, big benefit of the Cosmos Hub architecture, and shows and demonstrates how decentralized it really is. And what we're seeing now is that Intento Zone, which is a new chain that is actually going to become the next interchain secured project to launch its intent orchestration chain. We are in fact also in talks with them. They will be at Cosmoverse, and we had some conversations with them. And this one is also about to launch its mainnet, and with it also its TGE. So they will have their own token, the INTO token, that is also being bootstrapped on StreamSwap, which is also going to be interesting. And that's really what I mean. We need to see more and more of these native Cosmos applications being used by Cosmos projects. So that's that. Very exciting. Now, I mentioned Cosmos here and there. Quick update on the venue. If you haven't seen it yet, this is our venue for Cosmos 2025. You need to be there with a lot of exciting announcements coming very, very shortly. We announced already Croatian politicians. We announced the Serbian SEC that is coming. We have more announcements from Southeastern European regulators, policymakers, funds as well, VCs. So if you are a project founder, if you are a VC, if you are just a retail person that wants to meet their favorite Cosmos heroes and beyond, then Cosmos is the place to be. And this venue is a very sick conference venue. We're also proud to announce that both Certic and Polli, as I mentioned, are official track partners. Certic for the EVM track and Polli for the AI track for Cosmoverse, and they're also both sponsors. So we're very much looking forward to meeting them in Cosmoverse and to seeing them on site. Now, switching gears, we're also seeing a major announcement from Evolve, formerly known as Rollkit, which we have been talking about here a very long time ago. And now the Evolve EV stack is live, and this is apparently the fastest way to launch an L1 using Celestia underneath. No rent, no login, no validators needed to launch a high-performance network is the promise. And there's already two launch partners, or two initial projects. One is XO Markets, which we've been covering here a couple of months ago already with their conviction markets. That is very interesting. In fact, we also had a call with Ali, the co-founder of XO Markets, and he's a very smart, ambitious guy, and also understands the market dynamics. And they are using Evolve. Same for Hibachi, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a couple of other projects as well. But yeah, Evolve is not fully Cosmos, even though it's led by Marko Baricevic, who is the former Cosmos SDK lead. But you can also plug in the Cosmos SDK to launch your chain if that's what you want, is my personal understanding at least. but I would say this is definitely more of a Celestia product, Celestia aligned, even though from my understanding it's also not tied to one specific ecosystem, but gotta do some more research here as well. Now, Noble is also going to be using the Evolve stack for their chain, is my personal understanding, and they have just ended the first points program, and this points program reserves 5% of the Noble token allocation. So Noble is preparing for its TGE, but with that, they also have announced Season 2, which is allocating 2%, and I think that is mostly reserved for Hyperliquid. So they really are pushing hard to get USDN more and more rolled out on Hyperliquid. And they also have their Noble app layer that is coming, which is built on Evolve. And then the Noble token will be used to secure the Noble chain, is my understanding. But we'll see more here. Maybe we can also get an interview with Yelena sometime in the coming weeks. I think that will be interesting as well. But yeah, Noble is launching their own token coming very, very soon. If you've been participating in this points campaign, then you probably get to convert your points to Noble tokens quite soon. In that context, we also have an announcement from Sunrise Layer that has announced USDrise, which is a bit hard to speak out. I think Rise dollar would be a lot cooler. So maybe they can work on that branding, just call it Rise dollar. And this one is backed by USDN. It's a yield-bearing stable token for their chain and will be integrated here in collaboration with Noble. So Noble is rolling out USDN left and right and is preparing for TGE. Then we have Sei Network, that if you watched my interview with Jay from a few weeks ago, you know that they're basically leaving Cosmos. So they started off fully Cosmos SDK. They came to Cosmos mid-year in 2022, had their big coming out of stealth for the first time out there. Then integrated IBC, of course, still today are one of the largest users of Noble's USDC. But now that they have native integration of Circle's USDC and also more native assets that are coming, they're just doubling down on DVM. So they're getting integrated now on Backpack. They also got integrated on MetaMask. And yeah, they're also going to eventually replace their consensus algorithm and also leave and abandon IBC, which would be very, very sad. I'm working very hard to prevent that, or to at least, help that they are considering to integrate at least IBC Eureka. I think that would be cool. But yeah, and I know that the Interchain Foundation, Interchain Labs team is also in talks with them. So hopefully we'll get to keep Sei as part of the Cosmos ecosystem. But two projects that are doing the opposite actually are Stable, which is a brand new project that was just announced by Tether, Bitfinex, USDT, which is basically the same organization on a bigger picture. But they have announced the Stable chain that is going to be a custom app chain for native asset issuance, of course, for USDT issuance. So USDT is joining the Appchain train. They've mostly been deployed on Tron, on Ethereum, of course, now on Solana. I think there's a couple billion. But now they're launching their own chain called Stable. Some of these guys are actually ex-Cosmos people, as far as I understand. And they have raised $28 million in a seed round, which means they must have raised this at a decent 9-figure valuation, which is crazy. Quality VCs, Franklin Templeton, of course, HackVC, USDTO, and Bitfinex, Asian funds, KuCoin there, and some others, Brian Johnson, which is a bit random, but interesting. Paul, of course, founder, or not founder, but CEO at Bitfinex, Tether. So yeah. And also saw my man Taiki. Congrats if you're seeing this, Taiki. Congrats on getting an allocation for Stable. Very interesting. But yeah, underneath, Stable is also using Cosmos technology, of course. They're not bragging about it like most projects do. But that's also the whole point about Cosmos, right? It's like you can use the stack and then you can build your own brand. That is what sovereignty really means, right? Sovereignty in action. So that is Stable. I'm also trying to get them to customers. If you have good contacts with them, would be great if you could connect me or shill them to come to customers. I think it would be very nice to have them with us this year and to talk more about their chain and to just connect with the Cosmos community. Now, another chain that is also doing the opposite of Sei is in fact Ondo. So Ondo, market leader for tokenization of assets, specifically for financial products in the US, is currently not on Cosmos, but they are going to launch their Cosmos chain. And you've seen the acquisition of Strangelove, which means Jack Samplin is now their head of product, an OG cosmonaut, the one who built IBC and has onboarded a lot of projects to this ecosystem. And he has also onboarded me to Cosmos. So I wouldn't be in Cosmos, at least to that degree, as much as I am now without Jack. So we'll very be grateful for that. So Ondo, with a $1.4 billion TVL roughly, is building a Cosmos chain and is supposed to go live, I guess, sometime later this year. And as we talk about tokenization RWA plays, we also have Provenance Blockchain, the hash token that is now listed on CoinGecko, rank 87 with a roughly $3 billion FTV that is also fully built on Cosmos. In fact, they're OG Cosmos builders. A lot of people don't really know that. They were at Cosmoverse last year on a panel, and Provenance is also now listed on CoinGecko, which means it is now real for many people out there. Eventually it will also be listed on Coinbase here. But yeah, currently on Osmosis and also Figure Markets, which is a product that has given them a $13 billion TVL. So Hash or Provenance Blockchain, very, very interesting project based out of the US. Now, the RWA problem child Mantra is making some moves. So they have landed a $20 million investment. You just saw it here, which is crazy. So big congrats, JP and team. They're running it back, it seems. So Mantra is still there. They have not surrendered. Of course, we still wish for a proper post-mortem report of what actually happened with this price collapse. But yeah, they have landed a $20 million investment from Invenium.io, which I'm not familiar with, but yeah, they are probably based UAE and US, which are probably two very, very important markets for them, of course. So yeah, interesting moves from Mantra. We'll keep you posted here. And our airdrop for Cosmonauts is still coming, I guess, still scheduled for September to get our next tranche of the airdrop, and I'll keep you posted there as well. Next, some important updates from Babylon that still has a $5 billion TVL, is building the EVM now as well, Cosmos EVM. So that means they have their native app layer as well, and will also be a user of BTC security that is coming through their protocol. And now they have also announced Trustless Bitcoin Vaults, which is a way to also boost DeFi adoption around Bitcoin. And yeah, they have announced this yesterday. They have dropped a white paper here, and if you're interested, you can read that here from their Twitter. Then Babylon has also announced a $100 million baby token acquisition by a Nasdaq-listed company called ATA Creativity Global, I guess. To be honest, I'm not yet sure what I should think of all these DATs, like these treasury companies that are now building positions in crypto, and many of them have absolutely nothing to do with the project, with crypto at all, with tech at all, right? Some of them are, I don't know, like beverage companies or something like that. But it's definitely interesting, and I mean, it will probably pump our back. So yeah, that's that. But I think there's also a question about how are these deals structured behind the scenes, and is there liquidation risk? What is the upside? What is the downside? So I think, yeah, I'm not yet too deep into this topic, so I'm not sure what exactly that all means, but yeah, just an announcement that was made. Fisher commented that something bigger than that is going to be announced very soon as well. So I'm not sure if this was the Vaults announcement yesterday or if there's something else coming, but might make sense to keep an eye on the Babylon Twitter account to follow them here and to see what else is coming. They've also announced another chain that is going to be Bitcoin secured through Babylon, or becomes a BSN, Bitcoin or Babylon Supercharged Network, and that is Tuck. I also just did an interview with them. Marco was on my channel. It's here on YouTube, it's also on Twitter, and Tuck is also going to become Bitcoin secured. Then some quick news to round it up. Payy, which is a payment platform, actually also downloaded the app the other day, and it works very, very flawless and smooth. You can transfer funds and send coins back and forth. It's a payment app, and also now they have announced a payment card. And finally, we have some news from Stride. They came out. In fact, as an investor, I also got an investor report. There was a bit more detail, but unfortunately I can't disclose any of that. However, Stride came out, which is basically summarizing the investor report, just without going into depth here. But yeah, Stride, of course, heavily affected from the decision, the strategic move from the Interchain Labs team to not pursue the integration of the permissionless EVM on the Cosmos Hub. But they have now negotiated a settlement with the Interchain Labs team and also internally. They have cleared their obligations, extended their runway. There was also a bit of a restructuring internally when it comes to the team. They continue to operate their liquid staking protocol as normal, of course, and now also with the latest ruling that liquid staking is basically adopted or not considered a security, basically, by the SEC that came out like 2 days ago. I personally think they should just double down on that, because liquid staking in the end of the day is still going to have a huge market. And yeah, you might see some experiments like Celestia that is trying to replace their proof of stake mechanism with proof of governance, POG, but I think that still requires more refinement. But yeah, overall, the big trend is still, or the current state of crypto is still that staking is very, very common, and it is very, very common to launch as a POS chain, right? So I think they should just double down on that. I think they should also double down on new big assets that are coming out. But yeah, of course, that is very, very contradictory to what I've been saying like 2 months ago, where they in fact went away from liquid staking and gave their ST BGT, their bearer chain liquid staking protocol, to I think Kodiak or something. But yeah, we'll see. I think they will take the month of August to reassess also whether they are going to double down on Cosmos or not, because they've been core Cosmos for a very long time. But now also with the drop protocols out there, with Milky Way out there, the liquid staking market within Cosmos is getting more and more cozy and competitive. And considering that Stride has experimented with their AI agents platform, now with this EVM, with the Stride DEX, yeah, I think it's fair to take some time to reassess. Now, Noble is very, very interested to land Stride as their native DEX, it sounds like. Yelena commenting here, Noble app layer collapse, so might be something to think about, because from my understanding, the Noble or the Stride DEX is also ready and yeah, almost can be deployed instantly. So we'll see what is happening here, but they will take some time to reassess. I'm down bad on my STRD buys. I bought it 25 cents. I bought it $1. Yeah, I'm down bad on that, but yeah, I'm just neutral now. I'll keep it. I'll not sell it. We'll see where it goes, ride or die. But yeah, I still believe in Riley and the team, and we'll see where things go. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Some quick updates here. Everything is going to be fine eventually. Book your trip to Croatia. We'll see you in Split later this year, late October. And until then, stay safe and be good.